Hello, I'm Dr. Joel Hunter. I'm an ophthalmologist, and today we're going to be talking about red eyes. Red eyes? That's my best Ben Stein impersonation. Let's get to it. So today's question is, why are my eyes red? And it's a good question, and it's a common question because redness of the eyes is something that everybody suffers with some of the time, and some people suffer from all of the time. And so today we're going to go through what actually causes that. And it's actually not that long of a list. There's really only a couple of things that do it. And we're going to start off with the one that is by far the biggest offender: dryness. So one of the things about the front of your eye is that it's built to be covered with this very thin layer of tears. And that layer of tears is so incredibly thin, it's 7 micrometers thick, which, to give you just some perspective on that, a human hair is anywhere between 80 micrometers and 100 micrometers in diameter, in thickness. So 7 micrometers, you're talking in very, very small terms. An average cell, a skin cell, might be 7 micrometers. So it's very, very thin. Do you get an idea that it's thin? Because that's why we've gone through all those examples. So it's so thin, it's like a very, very, very shallow lake, but it's almost more like it's just fog on glass. And the reason that it doesn't just evaporate like fog on glass does, you know, if you blow on glass, and let's see if this works. Yeah, you see how quick that goes away? That was just a little bit of water vapor that's on the glass, and it instantly evaporates. We have a little bit of water vapor on the front of your eye, but if it was just water, then it would just quickly evaporate. It has to have these other components, and there's mucus, and there's these proteins, and there's these oils, these lipids, enzymes and salts. There's all this different stuff. Your tear film is like this really complex 80 ingredient soup, and if any of them are out of whack, then the whole soup, well, that would be taste bad. In this case, the whole soup evaporates. And so the most common reason that people have dryness is because their tear film is evaporating too quickly. And there are 2 main reasons for that. It's either the tear film quantity or the tear film quality. Some people are just unlucky and they don't produce enough basal tears, just the baseline level of tears that they should have, and so they don't have enough tear quantity. But that is not as common as the second one, which is the tear quality. You've got these little oil glands. If you, there was a video that we did about, I've got something in my eye but nothing's there. We were talking about these meibomian glands that line your lower lid. And these oils, they get secreted out to cover the front of your eye. And so I don't know if you saw, there was a reservoir, I think it was in California, where it was evaporating too quick. And so it was a hilarious article because they dumped like 1 million of these little black spheres, these little black like balls that you'd have in a ball pit, to cover the reservoir so that it wouldn't evaporate so quickly. And that works because it doesn't let the water evaporate because it's hiding underneath this floating surface. That's what the oil on your tear film is. It covers the surface and keeps your tears from evaporating. And so for a lot of people, just a good omega-3 supplement makes all the difference in the world. There are a lot of other reasons to have poor tear film quality, but that's the most common one by far. By the way, the quantity one gets affected by different situations. If you're in a very dry environment, if you get red eyes on an airplane, airplanes are drier than any desert you'll ever find. Marijuana, people get red eyes when they smoke marijuana, or as my youth pastor called it, the devil's lettuce. When you smoke marijuana, the tear production, saliva production, that stuff decreases, and so you get these really red eyes from it. And that's what makes something like Visine popular, because it works instantly. We're going to get to why you shouldn't do that after we talk about the second reason that people commonly get red eyes. Allergies. This one's less interesting. Everyone knows what allergies are. You're allergic to something. There's a stimulant in the environment that we call it an allergen, but we only call it an allergen if you happen to be allergic to it. Otherwise, it's just oakweed pollen. But that you've got this mucous membrane that's just covered in tears to absorb whatever's in the air, and so if it happens to be absorbing these antigens that you are allergic to, these allergens that are technically antigens, then your body you have antibodies ready for that. It latches on and says, this is toxic, we got to do something, and it releases tons of this stuff called histamine. And histamine's only famous because there's antihistamines, and that's what they do. They try to keep the histamine from making you itchy. Histamine can basically be thought of as the itchy cytokine. It just makes you feel itchy. Taking an antihistamine is great, and it will help your eyes not feel itchy, and it will help your eyes no longer be red because it quiets everything down. The one thing that I wanted to make sure everybody knew is that things like, well, Ben Stein's that Clear Eyes, that one, and Visine, they all have this one common feature to them. It's a chemical that's something along the lines, it's usually this one. Tetrahydrozoline, and the deal with tetrahydrozoline is that it's something that goes to the very small blood vessels and stimulates them, the sympathetic stimulation, and makes them shrink down. And so you put it in, and 2 minutes later, your eyes go from red to they look beautiful and white. That's how Visine works, that's how Clear Eyes works. Anytime you see something that says it's gonna get the red out, it's using this chemical or something similar to it. And the problem with that is your eye will start to get addicted to it. Not addicted in the way that you're up at night shivering, wanting to get your next tetrahydrozoline hit, but in a way that it's used to having all of that tetrahydrozoline around, telling your blood vessels to shrink down. And so what do you do in response to that? You get adapted to it. And so now the normal state, the normal receptor state is, hey, we have to have this stuff around. And so you get chronic red eyes. And that's how people get addicted to eye drops. They get red eyes if they don't use it all the time. So if you have red eyes, if you're getting ready for like a family photo or headshots, it's like a first date, something like that, go for it. Visine, Clear Eyes, any of them is fine because it works really, really well. If it's something you deal with more than once or twice a month, then you're going to want to approach it with using something like a preservative-free artificial tear, or if you have allergies, then something that just has an antihistamine. That is the story of red eyes. Thank you for listening today.